Hello, everyone of Unleashing Your True Self. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me share this thing out to some of my people, and then I will get started. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I have been, man, I don't even know if I can say under the weather or I don't know. It's just been a little bit on the crazy side. So I decided to come in here today. Let me put this in that. All right. Here we go. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. Let me put on my smooth jazz because y'all know if you watch me any length of time, you know I love my jazz. So I'm wanting to talk about what do you want? What do you want? And the reason why I came in here with that topic is because I have been doing a lot of meditating, a lot of contemplating, and really that's one of the things that I feel like is primary. And it's one of the things that as I talk to different people and as I, do the things to share my gifts out, which one of them y'all know is talking to people. So as I talk to different people, I'm discovering that a lot of people are at this place where they are deciding what do they want. And I can speak to that because I was at that place too, because I was making decisions and wanting to do something different in my life, wanting to make an impact, wanting to share my gifts, want to help the planet to heal, um, just any kind of thing. And so, what I found was when I was at that place where I was trying to decide what do I want, what I found was that it was easier for me to say what it is I don't want. Okay. It just seemed like it was so much easier to do that, to say what I don't want instead of what I want. Anybody else feel that way? And if you'll click that thing above this says StreamYard, I can see your comments on this StreamYard. Otherwise, it's difficult for me to see comments. All right, just so that you know. Um, but I wanted to know, did anybody feel the same way? Did anybody feel like it's time for you to make a change, time for a transition, time for you to move to other places in your life, time to do some other things, time to do some things that maybe you desire to do, maybe you wanted to do. Because especially as women, in this world, a lot of us, we don't do the things we want to do, the things that we desire. We do things because we have to do them. We have to take care of our kids. Not that we don't want to, and not that we don't desire. And probably if we flip the script and we decided to change how we thought about it and how we talked about it and how we said about it, like instead of saying, I have to take care of these kids, say, I love taking care of my kids. There's always ways to reframe things. And this is what I have found out and learned in this time. And so um, the question is, when you sit down and you try to decide and think about what it is that you want, many times you'll decide what you don't want. Like, I'm going to give you an example. Like for me, I could say, okay, what do I want? And the first thing I think about is, what do I don't want? And we really have to reframe that, and we have to kind of, change that around and flip that script so that we're saying what we want instead of what we don't want. Because what happens is the things that we say out of our mouth are the things that we are attracting. So if you are saying what you don't want, instead of what you want, you might be looking up and getting more of what you don't want instead of what you do want. So, what I'm saying is make sure that you begin to come to a place where you're figuring out what it is that you want. So, that's why I titled this, What Do You Want? Because I really want you to begin to think about that now. Think about, what do I want? Think about, what do I want? How does that make you feel when you even say that out loud? Because a lot of us, we wouldn't even say that out loud because we were scared that we were going to get more of what we didn't want. Because for one thing, we were saying that, like I said, I don't know what I want, but I know what I don't want. I know that I don't want to do this type of work that I'm doing for the next 100 years. Hey, Tosh, thank you for joining. I don't want to do this type of work that I'm doing for the next 100 years. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it for the next 10 years. I don't want to do it. So what I did was I began to reframe and focus on what it is that I want. What is it that I desire? And actually give ourselves that permission, because that's what it takes a lot of times, is that we have not given ourselves permission to put our desires out there, desires to God, to the universe, to source. We haven't given ourselves permission to do that, because so many times, especially as women, I'm speaking to my women because I know women, because I am a woman. And so speaking to my women, a lot of times we have not given ourselves permission to put our desires out there, to decide what it is that we want, to decide who it is we are. We haven't made that known. We haven't given ourselves permission so that we can even say it, because sometimes even saying it makes us scared. So for me, I decided that I want to write books. And I enjoy writing books. People write books. I want to help other people to get healed, to find clarity and direction. I love doing all those things. So I'm doing a multi-author book series, which I'm super excited about. And I was going to do one for the nurses, but I decided, because you know what? I got some spiritual wisdom coming to me, but I'm going to do this series called Eat Your Young. Hold on one second. Let me grab the paper to tell you about it. So it's a Eat Your Young series, because it's so many times I've noticed, and I've noticed that nurses, because that's what I do, eat that. Not only nurses, but many people, many professions eat their young, lots of them. Nurses, law enforcement, military, teachers, firefighters, EMTs in the air industry, media actors, and society in general. So if you are working in a profession and you realize that you guys eat your young, reach out to me. Maybe you can write a story in this multi-author book collaboration that I'm doing. Because I want people to tell those stories, how they felt if they were being eaten, if they realized that they were the ones that were doing the eating. How did you make that change? If you started out in your chosen profession, this is where people made you feel small, they made you feel inferior, mistreated, abused in certain situations, and hung out to dry, then I'm talking to you. If you have a story to share and you would love to be in a multi-book collaboration, multi-author collaboration, that we're going to get to bestseller. So if you would like to be a best-selling author, this is an opportunity for you. And I am super excited about it, and I cannot wait to talk to you. So if that's something that you are looking at, you want to be a best-selling author, and you've been either a victim of eating their young, or you've eaten your young. So either way, if you've been a victim, we want to hear those stories. If you were a person that was the person that was eating the young, because there are people that realize that later on in their careers that they were the ones that were eating the young. Okay. And so what I'm looking for is for people to authentically share their story with the theme of what happened to you and how you handled it, or what you did and how you made that correction and made that change, made that shift. And so the things I'm looking for is people that are want to have a commitment to making this book a bestseller, a commitment to show up to your appointments, and a commitment to pay your participant fee when it's due. So these are things that I'm looking for in people to come and share their stories with the Eat Their Young series, because that is going to be so much fun. I cannot wait, because I probably have. So again, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm going to share a story that I wrote, and it's about a patient that I had, and I don't have any HIPAA details or anything like that for those people that are looking at that. Um, but it's called Daryl because it was just a name. Now this is not his name because, like I said, I do not know his name for one thing. If I did know it, I don't know. I don't know what it is because it's been years ago. But this story I wrote a few years ago, and it actually happened years ago. So I'm gonna read a little bit of it. It's called Daryl. The things that you see when you're working, the people you meet and allow to touch your life, and the lives you touch are priceless. I am so grateful for the connections that I have made and the stories I hear. Thank you for joining. Um, that touched me. One story that is unforgettable is Daryl. He was an athlete and scholar who had his whole life ahead of him until one night after a football game that he won. Um, he was a star player as well as a scholar. He was on the honor roll and set to go to college on a full football scholarship as well as academic. In his world, everything was looking up for him. His family was so proud. He was raised in a family that loved and encouraged him every step of the way. And when he said he wanted to play professional football, they were supportive. As far as he was leaving the football game, he spun out into traffic and, unbeknownst to him, into the path of an oncoming truck. The truck didn't see him in time to stop. However, when he did, he stood on the brakes to do whatever he could to get the truck to stop. It was too late. He plowed right into Daryl's car. Daryl didn't even see it coming. And right at that point, his life was changed forever. It was not far from the school, so many of the fans and players witnessed the accident. The sight they revealed was brutal as Daryl was in a small sports car and the truck demolished his car. Was a 350. Now, in truck speak, 350 is a huge pickup with a huge engine. The first responder on the scene was so horrified, he worked so hard to get the door that pinned Daryl into the car open, it looked like he was going to need some oxygen. As more and more responders showed up, they worked tirelessly to get the door open to free the football player from the death grip. After what seemed like an interminable amount of time, they were finally able to set Daryl free from the car wreckage trap. It was a miracle that he was still breathing and smiling. This is what I noticed about Daryl when I had him as a patient. Despite all the challenges that he encountered, he still had that amazing smile and positive attitude, a rare find in these type of cases and even rarer knowing the outcome of his injuries. I met him at a rehab hospital. He was stabilized at the trauma center. He was a jokester who loved to make people laugh. It seemed that this was an amazing coping mechanism. In despair, he found a way to move into a happy space. Daryl was so encouraging to other patients who were not in as bad a physical condition that we knew he was a special kid with a definite calling on his life. As he recovered and began to get the full extent of his injuries, he realized that he was not going to live his dream to play football. Daryl took it like a champ and made a joke about it. He told us he wanted to see how the other half lived, the handicapable. What type of sport he could do. He wanted to major in IT, some sort of computer major. As his body healed to the level that it would, he realized that he was going to be a paraplegic which meant that he would not be able to walk without assistance, though he took his news well. Being the determined young man that he was, made him think he was going to walk again. Darrell was convinced he would walk again, however, not play football. As much of an inspiration he was, Darrell had his moments of reckoning when he was alone at night. He was having to have people help him with his most basic needs, and this bothered him when he was alone. He thought about it in a way that made him wonder what the future holds for him. Darrell couldn't help but think about how he may need help for the rest of his life. He considered those feelings while no one was around in the dark. By day, he was encouraging, positive, and looking at the best. There are times when I would go in his room and under the guise of doing something medical for him, I knew he needed some human. He always put a strong persona and felt the need to be strong for everyone around him. All right, so that was a part of one of the stories that I wrote about one of my amazing patients. One of my amazing patients. I wish I knew what happened to him after he left us, but I do remember he went to get further rehab and stuff like that. And the last thing that I had heard, though this was years ago, he's probably got his own family and everything by now because this was years ago. But the last thing I heard was that he was well and that he'd gone to college and all this stuff. So that's good. And if I knew his name, I probably could try to see if However, I didn't do that because that would be a violation of HIPAA. So no, none of that. But yeah, so when you sit down and think about what it is that you want, and if you are thinking, you want to be a best-selling author or writer, you've seen a lot of people doing it, you know that you can, you have stories, then come join me. Come join me. And even if you would like to write your own book, I'm helping people to do that as well. So come join me on writing your book. I'm super excited about it. Super grateful for you just to be able to speak on it, and super grateful just to, once you get to this place where you are beginning to trust God and you're beginning to trust the source, the universe, trust what you know, trust your intuition, trust your higher self. You begin to do that, then you'll begin to figure out and find out what it is that you want. What do you want? Not what you don't want. Let's not focus on that. Let's leave that alone. Not what you don't want, but what do you want? What is it that you want? What does your heart want? What do you feel like? And a part of getting to that place and learning how to open up and learning how to decide and how to put it down there and how to stop being afraid to say it. Because so many times we're just afraid to say shit just because people have told us, don't say that, because if you say it, it won't happen. And that's about a bunch of bullshit, really. I mean, we have to begin to speak it out, and then we also have to, release the outcomes. And speaking of releasing the outcomes, where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Okay. Releasing the outcomes. I pulled a card for myself and I thought I'd share it with all of you. Detach and move on. Detach and move on. Detach and move on. So if you are in this place, and this is so pertinent to the conversation that we're having. So if you're in this place and you're trying to decide, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? And you don't know, then begin to detach and move on. Detach and move on. So you begin to detach and move on. Let it go. Whatever it is that you thought you wanted at that time, let it go. Let it go. Shut it down. Let it go. Stop it. Just don't. Just don't. My daughter used to say, let's just say we did and don't. And she would make a joke about it, but then I would tell her, if we say we did and don't, that means we're lying. So we're not going to do that, right? So what I'm saying is, as you begin to step into this spot and you begin to figure out, what it is that you want, who you want, who you want, you begin to decide who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Who do you stand for? What do you stand for? What do you know? What do you know? What do you know? All right. So, again, thank you so much for hanging out with me, for joining me right now. If you are ready to join me in this multi author book collaboration that I'm super excited and ready for you to join me on. I'm so ready, and I cannot wait. It's going to be phenomenal because we are going to get bestsellers in 2022. 2022, we're going to get bestsellers in because that is where I am going. Because I'm finishing 2 books right now, and then I also am inviting you to join me in this Eat the Young series because that is going to be. I cannot wait because it's a tale that most of us have a story. Most of us have a story. So if you want to be a best-selling author, join me in this multi-author book collaboration because it's going to be so amazing. So if you want to join me, either comment below the video or you can PM me, send me a private message. We'll have a conversation if you desire. Um, if you know you're ready to do it, then make sure you reach out to me. Send me a private message either on Facebook, Instagram, uh, YouTube, or Twitter, or wherever you're watching me talk about it. But I'll be back on again tomorrow. Actually, I'll be back on in a couple of minutes because I'm going to talk about Moodport Entertainment as well. So again, thank you so much for joining me. I truly do appreciate you. Bye now.